What's going on out there, peeps? So I've had a chance now for the last few days to be listening to people talk about what happened during these midterms. We were expecting a red wave and that did not happen. I'm not sure what people were anticipating. I wanted a red wave, but I knew the reality of that was very low, only because the Republicans had more seats they needed to defend than the Democrats. And it's really hard to defend seats. But come 2024, the Democrats are going to have over 36 seats, I believe it is, that they're going to have to defend. And that's when you're going to actually see the red wave, not this time. To make matters even worse, we have people within a Republican Party working against the Republican Party. Mitch McConnell, who should be voted out of power, actually pulled funding away from Trump-backed Republicans that should have won their campaigns to try and fund a rhino Republican in a state he knew that he could not win. I'm listening to all these people talking about how Florida used to be a swing state. It's no longer a swing state, but it's considered a red state from top to bottom after this last midterms. But there could be another reason for that, and we'll talk about that as well. Before I get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, now's the time to buy the shine. Head on over to Money Metals Exchange. The link is down below in the description. If you are a first-time buyer and you spend more than $100, use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and you'll get an additional half ounce of silver with your order. So I saw this article, and it said Trump is calling his political allies and encouraging them to blame Mitch McConnell for GOP's poor midterm results, the report says. It's easy to blame Mitch McConnell because he was on his own personal mission. He was in charge of the purse strings and the money that could have been used to help push Republicans over the line in other states, but instead was looking to build his own personal anti-Trump establishment rhino Republican army, and it backfired big time. I'd be surprised if we see Mitch McConnell voted in as the minority leader now that we know that they've lost the Senate. But you can expect Mitch McConnell during his next couple of years to be actively doing what he could to sabotage Trump and anybody that supports Trump, which in turn affects the Republican Party. Just because he's part of the establishment and we know they have their own agenda. So yeah, Trump is calling on his political allies and encouraging them to blame Mitch McConnell. People were already doing that before Trump even said anything. So Trump has criticized McConnell for spending too much money on Alaska while neglecting other competitive races, which is true. But that's a state that automatically, in my opinion, would have went red anyway. So spending money to make sure that the Republican gets a Senate seat, to me, was just a waste of money. It could have went to somewhere where we had people who were kind of straddling the line on whether or not they could have won their seat. The money could have been spent better there. But this isn't the first time. We saw the election before this in 2020. Mitch McConnell campaigning and helping funding other rhino Republicans. I'm sure he's nervous, especially after you've seen 10 Republicans that voted for Trump to be impeached, and all of them rhinos, get wiped out for voting to have Trump impeached. Scared the hell out of Mitch McConnell because I believe 8 of them are now out of office. That's the kind of influence that Trump has. People want to say that Trump has lost his grip on the Republican Party. He's no longer the type of endorsement that can get you a guaranteed win. No, that just didn't work that way when you have your own Republican Party working against you. So is this true? What did Mitch McConnell do? It seemed to me like he was sabotaging the Republican Party. He wanted to make sure that there were less Trump-backed candidates that won and more rhino Republicans that got in there. One of the people that Trump was supporting was Blake Masters over there in Arizona. He could have easily have won his campaign against Mark Kelly. Instead, Mark Kelly barely won the campaign over there, and the Democrats ended up with the Senate seat. But there could be other reasons for that. I'm curious to see what it is that Kari Lake does now that the results are in and they say she lost. There's enough people now to dispute this and go to court for a possible re-election. And somebody laid out the case for it, and it looks like that's very possible. If that's the case, well, you can see Blake Masters will be on that ticket along with Kari Lake and other candidates. Masters slams McConnell over campaign spending and says he shouldn't be Senator GOP leader. No, he shouldn't. And I said that years ago. The guy is a Rhino Republican. He is married to a Chinese woman whose father is close friends and ties with the Chinese Communist Party. How's Mitch McConnell been able to get the security clearances that he has to be in office? I just don't understand that. So let's hear the tail end of the interview that Blake Masters had with Tucker Carlson. You can hear from him what happened.
But you know what else is incompetent, Tucker? The establishment, right? The people who control the purse strings. Senate Leadership Fund, Mitch McConnell. McConnell decided to spend millions of dollars attacking a fellow Republican in Alaska instead of helping me defeat Senator Mark Kelly. Had he chosen to spend money in Arizona, this race would be over. We'd be celebrating a Senate majority right now. And so my message to the people of America, my message to actually the Republican senators, hopefully my future colleagues, let's not vote Mitch McConnell into leadership. He doesn't deserve to be majority leader or minority leader.
So you're Blake. He pulled funding, but he pulled funding from, I think it was 3 different Trump-backed Republicans, and 2 of the 3 lost. Very, very close elections. Had Mitch McConnell funded them properly, they would have won easily. Instead, like he said, they spent the money attacking a fellow Republican in Alaska, and instead tried to get one of his Rhino Republicans to win. In addition to that, he did the same thing in Colorado. I'll cover here in just a moment. It says Mitch McConnell is working a behind-the-scenes campaign to make sure Trump-backed goofballs don't win their primaries. Well, most of them did win their primaries. As a matter of fact, a lot of them wiped out a big chunk of the 10 Republicans that voted for Trump's impeachment. We'll cover that as well here in just a moment. So here he is. This is Joe O'Dea. This is a guy that Mitch McConnell wanted to win over there in Colorado. And he spent money to try to help this guy win. This is a Rhino Republican. He has been outspoken about Trump. And Mitch McConnell was hoping that Joe O'Dea would win so he can have an ally with him over there in Washington. It didn't work that way. So this is another wasted money because it's really hard to flip Colorado. And Colorado has been blue for some time, and Joe O'Dea had little to no chance to beat the Democrat that was running against him. So that's another one of those mistakes that Mitch McConnell did, campaigning against a fellow Republican in Alaska, spent a ton of money on a Rhino Republican in hopes of getting him to flip Colorado red just because the guy was outspoken against Trump. So things are not looking good for Mitch McConnell. He might get lucky and squeak into the leadership spot, but I'm hoping they'll go with somebody like Jim Jordan. So here we go. We have the 10 Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. Remember this? So Liz Cheney was one of the big ones. Mitch McConnell was shocked at this. I know he was. But you could see here that Liz Cheney is now the spokesperson for the Democratic Party. She really is. But Liz Cheney lost her Senate seat in Wyoming to Harriet Hagman. That was a Trump-backed candidate. That should have told you right then and there, those who voted to impeach Trump were going to be in a lot of trouble. Dan Newhouse was another one of those Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. He actually survived his campaign and he was reelected. David Vallejo in California also voted to have Trump impeached. And as you can currently see, the votes are very close, but he is in the lead. He might hold on to his seat, maybe. The following Republicans, Jamie Herrera, Peter Mihar, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Tom Rice, all were ousted in their primaries against Trump-backed candidates. They didn't even make it to be on the ballots. 4 other ones decided to retire. They knew they would get their butt kicked during the election. John Katko, Adam Kinzinger, Anthony Gonzalez, all opted to retire instead of face the wrath of the voters. Mitch McConnell was poured in Lisa Murkowski. He needed another Rhino in there. He wanted Lisa to be Kali Shabaka, I believe is how you pronounce it. And she was slightly leading, but it's still too close to know who's going to win yet. We'll find out shortly. But, you know, Mitch McConnell's losing all of his allies, and he ran a private campaign to try to get as many Rhino Republicans to help fight against Trump before Trump makes his announcement in 2024. So it isn't just the Democrats, it isn't just the establishment, it isn't just the media. Trump has to deal with members in his own party fighting against him as well. So it looks like this should be the end for Mitch McConnell. It looks like Kali Shabaka is going to win outing another rhino Republican who we see often vote with Democrats anyways. Dianne Feinstein definitely is a controller of Lisa Murkowski. We've seen him fight in the hallways on several occasions. So we'll find out here shortly, but I'm sure that Mitch McConnell was pretty concerned when he saw a lot of backlash of the 10 Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. And so he knew he had to do something to start getting reinforcements. So instead of spending money to do what's right for the American people and for the Republican Party and make sure that those who had a great chance of winning should have been funded, instead he used the money to help push in more rhinos. And they looks like not just one of them, but two of them are going to lose. I found this news story interesting, and I'll play this clip and then I'll give you my opinion on it.
We saw freedom in our very way of life in so many other jurisdictions in this country wither on the vine. Florida held the line. We chose facts over fear. We chose education over indoctrination. We chose law and order over rioting and disorder. Thanks to the overwhelming support of the people of Florida, we not only won election, we have rewritten the political map.
A win for the ages indeed. That was, of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis Tuesday night following his landslide victory over Democrat Charlie Crist. DeSantis won re-election by almost 20 points in what was once considered a swing state, even taking the Democratic strongholds of Miami-Dade and Palm Beach counties. The resounding win gives DeSantis a second term in the Sunshine State and, of course, a national platform as he eyes a potential run for the Republican presidential nomination in 2024. Well, we're back with Carl Peterson and Monet Ukwe-Barua. Monet, let me start with you. Ron DeSantis won 4 years ago over his Democratic opponent by less than a percentage point, a very, very narrow race. On Tuesday, he won by almost 20 points. This is a quite extraordinary phenomenon. We haven't seen many of these in a major state, a big state like Florida. We haven't seen this kind of a movement in many, many years. It wasn't just a victory, it was a triumph. What explains Ron DeSantis' success?
Well, I think the first thing you have to get out of the way is that 2018 was much more of a Democratic year. Obviously, President Trump was president at that time. Voters were expressing some dissatisfaction. So DeSantis' narrow win there was part of a larger nationwide trend, and he was kind of expected to gain ground. But putting that aside, I think we can totally agree that Ron DeSantis has managed to piece together a conservative coalition in Florida larger than anyone could have expected.
Florida had its own red waves. All the Republicans that were on the ballot for this midterms won their seats, and they won by large margins. Now, people keep talking about how Florida used to be a swing state and that the Democrats have lost control of these swing states. They're out there trying to explain why. Now, one thing I'm going to say real quick before we get into this is I'm not sure why it is that Trump felt like he had to attack Ron DeSantis. I think that was a huge mistake. Ron DeSantis is the heir apparent. There's no doubt about it. And the last thing you want is Ron DeSantis to be running against Trump. It could split the party. I don't think Ron DeSantis can beat Trump. I don't. I think he's very popular, but not that popular yet. And the last thing you want is for DeSantis to be on the wrong side of Trump's supporters. I think if Trump was smart, he should start talking to Ron DeSantis now and seeing about making him his vice president. This way you got 4 more years of Trump and then 8 years of Ron DeSantis carrying over the same agenda. And that's plenty of time to fix all the things that are wrong here in the United States and to put us right back on track. So why did Florida go all red? Well, not to mention the fact that there are a ton of refugees who come from communist countries who live there, who don't like the direction that the Democrats are going in. That's just one reason. But people forget, Florida was always in the midst of voting scandals, mainly behind this woman, Brenda Snipes. Every single year that she was the Florida election official, there has been one type of scandal or another. And all the scandals magically always fell in favor of the Democrats. And you started to see some districts turn blue with a lot of controversy. So people might have forgotten about that. Brenda took over 2002 and she ran it all the way up to 2018 where she said she was resigned, but at the time we had Scott was the one who was governor and he fired her. If you guys remember, she has a very long history of trouble as the election chief. I mean, it's one scandal after another, including missing ballots. You know, by law, when there's a recount happening, she's supposed to report every hour. She refused to do it. And then she refused to tell anybody how many votes were left over, which made things very questionable. So the questioning of elections really started back in Florida. It appears like Florida is an automatic win for Republicans at the moment. Without a doubt, the Republicans got to do something about Mitch McConnell. I know he has a lot of friends there, and he's very protected, but he needs to lose his leadership roles. You know, he needs to be voted out of office. Instead of doing what's right for the American people, he has his own personal agenda, and that's when you need to get rid of the representatives, when they are more focused on their personal gains instead of what's right for the American people. Anyways, that's it for now. Let me know what you guys think down below. I look forward to your comments, and I'll catch you later. I'm out.